it's kind of the same. I only ever got suspended from school 3 or 4 times, and every single time it was standing up to not actually me getting bullied, because I didn't really. I had pretty thick skin. I was the second. My older brother used to bash me. Like he hardened me up for sure. He knows that. We laugh about it all the time. But I was his punching bag growing up. I was his heavy bag. But just on that point, I used to always see people that were, maybe not able to defend themselves, and I would automatically jump in. And every single time I got suspended from school was defending somebody else that probably couldn't defend themselves. And every single time I used to get the same reaction from the teachers, like, that's not the way you should do it. Like, we're not saying what you did is wrong, but you can't do that, but it is one of those things that if you stand up for what's right and what you believe in, and then you can't just sit back and watch it, right? You can't just sit back and watch it. Hey, it's Julian, founder and CEO of LoanOptions.ai, and today I'm here with a very special guest. I've been calling him Aussie David Goggins. Tell us, mate.
First of all, thanks so much for having me, dude. It's incredible in here. I saw it on your Instagram the other week, 2 weeks ago or something, when you're here. And the moment, do you know who Patrick Bet-Davis is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bro, so when I saw
inspired by it, 100%
when I saw it, I was like, fuck, that looks like Patrick Bet-Davis's set. Like, it's gangster. And I think one of the things, like I think it's a trait of yours, like personally, and I can see it flow over in your business, right? But it's like, a lot of people will like start a podcast or they'll set up like their own little thing, but like not many people will go, fuck it, we're gonna like do this.
Yeah.
And because it's not as though like you're not a media company, right? No. You know what I mean? But you understand the value of like that.
Yeah.
And the professionalism on this set is gangster.
So, I would love to introduce you properly.
So my name's Courtney Joyce. I'm a father of 4. A husband to my wife, Jade, we've been married for like 11 years now. I've been together for like 15, a long time. So I live in a regional town called Cessnock, which is 2 hours north of Sydney. I run a couple of companies with my brother, Virtual Spotter, which is a company that assists franchise fitness businesses or health and wellness businesses outsource admin, reduce operating expenses, and streamline operations mostly. So admin, customer service, sales. And we have 2 custom technology platforms, one called Tasker that integrates with booking software in fitness, health and wellness businesses to pull out data and present to owners. And another platform called FitForms, which is another custom software platform that helps manage members in health and wellness businesses. So that's us, dude.
Now, we're going to dive into all of that.
Yeah.
But for those who haven't seen Courtney, I want to tell a story about Courtney. My first interaction with Courtney was through the Cub network, and he doesn't know this, and he doesn't know I'm about to say this, but he put up a thing and said, hey, I've got one of our Airbnbs in the Hunter region available this weekend, and anybody in the Cub network want it, it's yours, take it for free. And I haven't told you this because, but I'm going to say it now. That was very meaningful for me for a couple of reasons. One is the following weekend was my brother's wedding, and I had some errands and tasks and stuff that I needed to do. He was getting married in Hunter. So I was like, well, this is a good opportunity. The second thing was there was a lot going on in the business at that point in time. And I was just like, I was so financially drained. I'd put all of my money into the business and I wasn't really seeing the return yet. And I didn't really have any money to take. I had to give my brother a wedding gift the following week, and we're Arabs, so like the wedding gift is a significant amount of money, and I didn't really have any money to like go away, and that was a very generous move on your part. And at that point in time, it was just the exact thing that I needed. I'd been working crazy hours. It was probably like a little bit out of favor with the missus, and it was just like a nice thing. We went to the place, and it was beautiful, and maybe you can tell us at the end where to find the link if people want to book it. We had the best weekend ever. I did the errands that we needed to do, and tidied up a few loose ends, helped my brother out. But it was great. You know, I don't know. I feel like the air is different to Sydney. The pace is different to Sydney. And, you know, then you invited us over with my kids to come and, you know, get eggs from the chicks, the chooks, I should say. Not chicks, but and it was just a great experience. And so you did that without any sort of expectation of anything in return. And I've heard you talk about the reciprocity principle. And I feel like there's not a lot of people like you, man. There's it might have it certainly wasn't insignificant. It was a very nice, generous gesture. But to you at the time, you probably didn't think much of it. But to me, it was very meaningful because I didn't exactly, in that period, I didn't exactly have money to take my family away for a weekend. And it was just, the timing was great and it really meant a lot. So this guy, for those who don't know him, has the best and most underrated Instagram page of all. So go and find Courtney Joyce, Joyce. And I think every morning, without a doubt, I wake up, he's already awake, and he's already probably been an hour, 2 hours on the rower, right. I think the mind is just so calloused and it just brings positive energy. As soon as you wake up, he's, you know, deep in philosophical thought and writing great wisdom and just, you know, inspiring others. And I absolutely love the page. It's always one of my first stories that I click on because I just watch every single one of them. And I'm grateful to call you a colleague, a friend. You know, your story is very inspiring. So I want you to tell your story, if that's okay.
Bro,
let's start like all the way at the beginning and some of the, I guess, the troubles that you had before you eventually get to where you are now.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure, dude. And even just to touch on the house thing, right? Like a part of the reason why I do that is because I know that attracts people that are like me. And like, if I didn't do that, would have we still interacted at Cub? Maybe, but like we wouldn't have had that subconscious connection through, like, because that was the first interaction that we had.
It was, yeah.
So it's like that, like, and then that has led to like our relationship now and our like everything else.
Yeah.
So like to me, I got everything that I would have wanted out of that, which is like connection, friendship. Like it's perfect. Like that is what it was a small gesture. You got a lot out of it, but I get a lot out of it too, right? Because now we're here. So I think that when you put yourself in a position, like, because I think even as business owners, right, we're always trying to get a return on something. And for the most part, it's got something to do with money. It's like, I don't want anything. I really don't want any money for this. I just want someone to be able to come and enjoy this with their family. And they come down and it just so happened that you're in that current position. Your family got to, and it was spontaneous too. So this is another thing. Like when we plan for things, like that was, I think it was like on Friday, bro, or like Thursday or Friday. So you ring Mrs. like, fuck, like, you want to go to the Hunter Valley? She's like, that would be amazing. Like we're going to sit around here and like, you know, like do nothing. So like there's an element of that spontaneous that you don't typically get as young parents either. Like, because usually you plan and you're like, we can't. It's like, oh, my daughter's sick, or like we shouldn't because of this. It's like, well, hey, we're going to go there. And there's a huge amount of value in just being spontaneous. But bro, I'm grateful that you took it up, first of all, because I think that's the other thing. People are like, I feel like this is almost like a trap. Like if I say, hey, do you want to come and stay here? And you put your hand up and say, yeah, I do. Like that fucking makes me happy. Because I think some people are like, I don't want to say it because I feel like I'm going to owe him something, or like, what is it? Like, what is it? Like, it's almost like.
And for the record, you never made it feel like that at all.
That's good.
And so, you know, I think your hospitality was great.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have the most beautiful family ever. They're all training with you, and like, man, I just love everything about your energy. And it's so amazing that we had so many like similar, not the same. We've sort of been on different paths, but like the paths are, you know, have converged in a few different ways. And
even with jiu-jitsu as well.
Jiu-jitsu. And then, you know, we found ourselves, it was me, you and Lockie once at the sparkling water section at one of the Cub events. And we're like, you don't drink?
Yeah.
No? You don't drink?
Yeah,
no?
big dogs.
You don't.
This is where the big dogs hang out, isn't it?
What do you got? Sparkling water?
Yeah. For sure, bro. 100%. Yeah. So to go back to that, to finish that question. So My story, dude. I was born in a regional town called Mudgee. My dad's, so like, I probably have like one of the unique things about my childhood, right, was that my mother passed away when I was 2 years old. Okay, so at that time, my mum was 23. I was 2 years old. My brother, who is my business partner now, was 3 months old, and she died of an asthma attack. So like very spontaneous, very like she's young, healthy, and she's had asthma bad. And like at the time, it was a credit to my dad because like I always knew, like I always grew up knowing what had happened to my mother, which was pretty cool. Like I can't remember there ever being a time of him saying, hey, like this is what had happened. My dad's had relationships after that. He had another daughter to another lady. They moved away. Then my dad met my mum who raised me. She had a child to another relationship who's my stepbrother. And then my dad and my mum got married. They had 3 kids. So like it's a little bit messy, but like I wouldn't want it any other way. I look at them guys like my brothers. I look at my sister like it's my sister. And, you know, we moved around a lot as kids, like a huge amount. So my dad used to run supermarkets, and he was kind of like the guy that would just drop anything for the company. Like he was a very hard worker. And I think there's elements of like parts of my dad's work ethic that as a child, like, you know, you might not like he wasn't always there. He was like, he would work a lot. But I also think that at the time he was doing what he thought was best for, you know, his big family. Like there was 6 boys at home, right?
Yeah, wow.
So there's definitely elements of like the amazing work ethic that I got from him, but also lessons around like some of that time that, you know, could be spent with family versus, you know, like continuing to work on some weekends and stuff like that. So we moved around a lot. Like when I say a lot, bro, like I lived in like, it was like 19 different houses before I was 18 years old. Like we moved pretty, like I think in primary school, I went to like 6 different primary schools. At the time, there's 2 things that were like, that were like really challenging for me to work through, right? So like being a kid is hard mostly. And like when I say hard, it's like when you're moving around, like I would get teased a lot for my name. So it's like I'll go to a school, they would tease me about my name. It's a girl's name, blah, 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 blah. And then they would get used to that. And then my parents would tap me on the shoulder, we're moving. I'm like, fuck, what? Okay, we're going through this again. Bang, oh, you got a girl's name, blah, 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 blah. Oh, fuck, this again. But at the time, bro, I remember I was living in Parks, and like a lot of these were like regional towns. Like I lived at Parks and fucking Ningen, like they're very rural. So I remember I would have been like 8 or 9 years old. I was praying that I would have a different, like you're a kid, right? You don't know. But I would pray that I had a different name. I'm like, why do I have this name? Because it used to bring me so much negative energy and so much like it was hard trying to manage that, right? And then what I realized as I aged, I'm like, well, actually, it wasn't even as I aged. Like, it was like as a business owner, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but this is relevant. It's like my name is like a secret weapon now because like I get to stand in groups of, you know, the Peters and the Michaels and the Simons, and like I get to stand out. I'm the guy with the energy. I'm the guy that has a unique name that can like get massive cut through against everyone else. So like it's a superpower now, and also as well, additionally to that, there are reps that I went through that bullying, through them negative interactions that allowed me to have skills that like dramatically compounded my personality. Because what I realized as a kid is like, oh, hang on, if I go into this new setting and I can like make these guys laugh, I can be really personable, I can be fun, I can be supportive, like they're not going to have an opportunity to be able to tease me about my name or even find out like I'm just the fucking cool guy straight up. Yeah. I'm the guy that's got all the energy. I'm the guy that'll be good at sport. I'm the guy that will like be friendly to them. And like there's some of the skills that we get to use as business owners to be able to grow.
It's a huge advantage,
bro.
And just on that, when people like, I used to get teased for like I got a big nose.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big fucking nose, but man, I just lean into it because the thing is, as soon as they get the reaction from you, they'll continue to do that. And you just go, "Oh, you fucking big nose." I'm like, "Yeah, it's massive." And then like, and you've just completely disarmed them.
Correct.
And then they're just like, "Oh, I'm not going to use that again." Yeah. I've got to find something else wrong with this bloke.
But I think for me, they used to get the reaction that they wanted, which is me losing my temper and fighting.
Yeah.
So like any fight that I had as a child was all around being teased and bullied.
Yeah.
Like I would build up that emotion and then just fucking explode.
Yeah.
But so I didn't understand that at that time, right? Yeah.
And it's kind of the same. I only ever got suspended from school 3 or 4 times, and every single time it was standing up to not actually me getting bullied, because I didn't really. I had pretty thick skin. And I was the second. My older brother used to bash me. Like he hardened me up for sure. He knows that. We laugh about it all the time. But I was his punching bag growing up. I was his heavy bag. But just on that point, I used to always see people that were, maybe not able to defend themselves, and I would automatically jump in. And every single time I got suspended from school was defending somebody else that probably couldn't defend themselves. And every single time I used to get the same reaction from the teachers, like, that's not the way you should do it.
Yeah.
Like, we're not saying what you did is wrong, you know, but you can't do that, but it is one of those things that you if you stand up for what's right and what you believe in, and, then you can't just sit back and watch it, right? You can't just sit back and watch it. And probably in the very, very early days of getting teased about my nose, and because when I was a kid, it wasn't big, but it just like, as I grew, it just never stopped growing. As I probably went into high school. In the beginning, it did. I'm like, fuck, and you'd be a bit self-conscious about it. And I can't even remember how I figured it out, but I'm like, it's massive.
And then like stopped.
And then they're just like, well, that's a shit joke now. It's not funny anymore. And then it just kind of went away. And it almost, when you speak about yourself in a self-deprecating way, people don't feel the need to tease you or whatever. And I never got violent. I never had any sort of reaction to that other than like right at the beginning. And but it's so.
But I think the one thing, right? So it's like the environment. So I think as parents, we want safety, security. They want we want our kids to feel safe and secure and like that they're a part of something. But I think that there's a challenge, right? Because I have people that I grew up with that lived in the same house, they went to the same school, they've only had that one environment their entire life. And I think that can be a negative, environment as an adult. So I was grateful. As a kid, I hated moving around so much because I had to start all over again. But as an adult, looking back at that now, it gave me skills that I would not have had right now. Mostly networking, engaging, communication skills that I was forced to have purely just from environment.
Yeah, it's a great mentality that you have, because you're looking at it with the rose-colored lens, right? Like, you're taking all the good that you can out of it. And a lot of people just go, they victimize themselves. Like, everybody's got a story, man. That's one thing. Like, the more people I talk to, the more I realize even the people that you think are quite privileged growing up, they had some screwed up shit happen to them as well. And maybe varying levels or varying degrees of how fucked up. But all the best people I know, and I mean all of them, have had a pretty difficult upbringing and either moved around or, had the parents had issues or, whatever it might be. I'm kind of the same. I'm one of 5. Yeah. And my younger sister is my half sister, but I never even referred to her as a half sister. She's just my sister. But it's like, our family is so close. All of my brothers, I never really had a big circle of friends. It was always like my best friends are my brothers. And we play golf every weekend, and I have some. I do have friends, obviously, but it's a very, very small circle. And my sisters are like, they're like the nurturers and protectors of the family. They're like the glue of the family, and there are things in that you sort of learn over time just how important family is. And in our culture, it's like you see a lot of families, doesn't matter what culture, and they don't even talk to their brother or something like that. And I just can't imagine. It's so amazing that you're in business with your brother. You obviously have a great relationship and can work together and all that kind of stuff. That's for me, that's the best thing, because no one will bleed for you like your own brother will,
Correct.
And my 2 brothers, then one of them's a builder, one of them's got a concrete pump, but they're always doing jobs together. You know what I mean? And so it's just great to see, you know, and when they both finish work early, they're on the golf course together. It's just amazing. Like you cannot beat having a close knit family and just that love
extremely
that you feel.
Powerful, right? Because you don't they've been through a lot of that adversity that you have. Like it's like, you know who I am, you know what we went through. You don't have to talk about it, you don't have to refer back to it, but like, I know that you went through that, and I know where your values lie. I know that you have my back. Like this, it's powerful too, because if you go into, and I think that's like a part of the reason why our partnership in business now is so strong, is because of that very one reason. I actually think like we're better business partners than what we are brothers. And I think that what I mean by that is like we have more. The business is like the massive commonality that brings us really close together. Outside of business, our interests are like different. So like when we mostly only talk about work, and like that jazzes us up. Like, so it's like late 20s, early 30s, like I wouldn't interact. Like we were doing our own things a lot of the time, right? He's busy with his young family, I'm busy with my young family. But it was business that brought us back together and like brought us really close. And like, especially Zach, like he's my only full, again, I'm the same as you. I don't refer to him as half brother or step brother. It's like, we're all brothers and sisters. But like, if you look at it through a lineage, he's my only full brother. You know, like he's been through the same thing I went through. He's lost his mum when I lost my mum, you know? So like that, like there's an element of familiarity that we have that you can't replicate, dude.
And, you know, obviously you were really young when you lost your mum, and I'm sorry to dig a little bit here, but like I can't imagine, you know, because here's the thing. My father wasn't a very good man. So he wasn't a hard worker like yours, and you know, he wasn't around, even though he wasn't a hard worker. He was just not a very good man, and he was quite violent and stuff towards my mum. And so my mum, like I can't imagine, because she was such a strong woman. She worked, she raised 5 kids, like she did all of this stuff, and she's such an impressive person. And a lot of my work ethic comes from her, like you speak of it. And so a lot of the stuff that you're saying resonates with me, and it's not, like I said, it's not exactly the same path, but like I can see how all these years later, you know, we standing by, you know, sparkling water, because all of the events of our life have led us down to this realization that what's actually important in life, and the goals that you should be setting, and the version of yourself that you should be chasing, and all of that kind of stuff. But like, is there any sort of memories or recollections that you have of even her stories of you know, maybe her brothers and sisters talking to you about?
Yeah, so like her sisters, especially, like I lost contact with that side of the family for the longest time, right? And it wasn't for any reason, it's just that, you know, they were busy being them and we were doing us. But then in my 20s, late 20s, I sort of reached back out, and I love spending time with my aunties because like I felt like I was with her. They looked the same. It was like, it was really cool just interacting with them. And especially one, like my auntie Anne, she's a G. She's actually a nun, right? And and she's still a nun now. And like we have the most amazing conversations. Like she's a very spiritual nun. Like she's religious, but it's like there's a huge amount of spirituality in it. Like she holds like she'll hold like a week, and they have like a silence retreat. Gangster. Like I would love, like I think that silent, like sit in silence for like fucking 4 days, and like she holds them space. She's a G. Anyway, being able to spend time with them people, like it made me feel like I was close to her, and that made like that. I got comfort from that, right? But I actually don't know. And my mum done an incredible job raising me. Like my mum, who I call my mum, she was with us since I was 5. Like she's an absolute G, right? She raised us. So like she's my mum, that's who raised us. She was at home with 6 boys, right? She didn't like, it was a lot for her. So she had an amazing work ethic as well. And she was only young, dude.
I got one son and he's hard work, man.
Yeah. And she was young. Like she would have been, like you don't realize as a child, but like when you look back on it and you crunch the numbers and try to understand how old they were, when like she would have been early 20s, man, when, you know, she ended up with my dad and then like started living with us. So to take on that when you're in your early 20s is like, it's pretty gangster. She's taken on 2 boys that aren't hers, and she raised us. So
amazing woman to do.
Yeah, she's a star. And I think like I don't know anything like would I love to hug my biological mother and interact with my like 100%, you know, like, but I don't know what that was like, so I don't know what I'm missing. I can only anticipate what I'm missing. But there's moments that I think that I can remember of her, but I'm not sure if they're just manifested in my dreams or my thoughts as well. But I still feel like she's close through my aunties, and even just sometimes, especially when you run, dude, like you get that runner's high, you start feeling very emotional almost, because you're operating on a high frequency. There would be times, especially when I sold my cleaning business, dude, there was a time I was running and I just fucking started crying. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? But I worked so hard on that business to get out of coal mining, to build that business, and then to sell it for what I did. I was just really proud of myself, and I'm fucking sure she's like,
proud
she's
of you
like,
too,
fuck, man. like that was amazing. Yeah. And I like, even just the thought of her being proud of that, I was just fucking, I'm running up the street, bro, crying. I'm like, bro, like,
it's like a euphoria. Like, I don't, if people haven't really, sort of felt that, I know exactly the feeling you're talking about, where you're like, I can't believe I just did that. And you've got the runner's high, but you've also come to this realization, almost like you were not asleep at the wheel, but like on autopilot.
Yeah.
And then you just woke up and like you feel everything. Like it's hard to explain, but I know what you're talking about. It's like everything, like you can feel the wind on your skin. You can feel you can feel your heartbeat. You can feel everything.
Especially, you know what, and I don't want to get off track here, but like, especially when you do that early in the morning when it's dark, because all your senses are fucking blocked. Like you can't see. Like I can't see past my fucking headlight. Yeah. So like any noise, any rustle, like your senses are even more heightened.
Yeah.
Because like it needs to be to keep you safe, like subconsciously to keep you safe. But yeah, so late teens, early 20s, like I probably grieved for my mum, like early 20s. I've drugs, alcohol, it's like, why me? It's not fair. I moved out of home when we were young as well. So I just turned 18 and Zach was 16 when we moved out of home. So we moved to Kellyville for a little while, and then I never felt I was going back there to Cessnock every weekend. I was working at a supermarket at Woolies at Kellyville, shout out. And then we moved back.
That Woolies is dope now, man.
Yeah.
They have like they're like devices that you put on the thing, and you just like put it in the trolley, and then like you don't have to scan anything.
Wow,
it's cool.
That's wild.
That Woolies is dope.
So then Zach and I we rented an apartment in Cessnock and then moved back. It was like all our shit was in the back of a single cab Rodeo ute, and we just like, fuck, we got to figure this thing out. And so that was a great time, but it was also a loose time because we were young. We were basically the only ones of our friend groups not living at home. So like our house has turned into a party house. And for like years we just partied there, right? It was like a pretty wild period of time. But that's where I met my wife as well, which is pretty wild. But so yeah, it's good. But like anything that I got out of that was like everything happens for a reason. Like I know that. And like just to sort of finish talking about my mum, when I had my first child and I held my daughter in my arms, I'm like, this all makes sense to me now. Like if my mum didn't pass at that time, I wouldn't have went left. I maybe would have kept going straight. And then all them things that happened for the fucking 20 years after led me to meeting my wife and then having my first child. So like I held my daughter in my arms. I'm like, you wouldn't exist if my mum didn't die. Yeah. And then everything else after that, right? We wouldn't be sitting here right now if my mum didn't die.
Yeah. It's like that butterfly effect.
Bro, it had to happen in order for all this other beautiful things. So I think that the lesson that I got out of that is like in all tragedy, there are moments like if you can like hold on for long enough, there is going to be an element of beauty and it will make sense. If you can look at it through that lens and look for that beauty.
Mate, that's profound. This is the sort of stuff I see on your Instagram. And you know, I always laugh as well because you're like, oh yeah, boat dog. It's like 4 a.m., not even 3:30 a.m., whatever. And then and it's like everything to you is like, you know, talking about the grind. And I love that, man. It's like I don't want anything to be easy. I don't enjoy anything. If you give me something and it's like, you know, served to me on a platter, I just don't enjoy it as much.
You don't value it.
You don't. Yeah. No, and it's like anything. I'll give you an example in my business. Like when we give something for free, people don't value it, they don't use it. And then you go, oh, even if it's $1, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And look, there's a great book, Dan Ariely's Predictably Irrational. It's a human psychology thing. And they the word free makes people do totally irrational things, but equally they don't value it as much. And it's like that book is great for like sales psychology. If anyone wants to read that, it's like Marketing and Sales Psychology is probably the best book you can read. But you know, you touched on your work in the coal mines and stuff, and obviously that was then the catalyst for you to start your own business, and you had that good exit. But like, walk us through that journey, and then like how you ended up with Virtual Spotter and some of the other businesses you're involved in. Love to unpack that a little bit, because I know you're capable of doing so much, because you've got all your processes down. You have the same disciplined approach that you have with the rest of your life, whether it's your nutrition or your exercise. Like, I haven't seen you miss a day as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, I want to also talk about your relationship with that sort of obsessive personality, because a lot of people that are successful have that same trait. And it's like, it can be used, and if you can focus it in the right direction, it can be the biggest weapon to your advantage. But equally, it can be a weapon that's becomes self-destructive.
Absolutely.
Let's
and we can talk about that run ended up like that, right? Like when I done all them, like because I ran. Want to talk about that now?
Let's get into that.
So, I ran when I finished last. I remember driving to Cub one day, and I was rowing a lot at that time. And then I started running. I'm like, I wonder if I could run 7 days of half marathons. I thought that would be like pretty gangster and like quite challenging for me at that time. And then I done it. I'm like, fuck, that was cool. I was like, I wonder if I could do 21. And then I was like, oh wow, I just ran 21 days consecutive of like 21 kilometers, 21.1 kilometers, gangster. And then I went 30. I'm like, oh wow. And then I actually stopped counting. I just kept doing it. I just kept going, and then I was at 50. So I stopped tracking the milestones. And then I knew what day I started. So say it was like the 21st of April. I would just used to go, hey Siri, how many days ago was the 21st of April? It was 86 days ago. And I'm like, oh cool, 86. And then I was like, fuck, I think I'm going to be able to do 100. Like that's mad. Like I couldn't imagine doing that, right? But a lot of it, like I never set out to do 100. I just kept going. And then I done 100. Actually, on the 100th, I ran a 50K on the 100th as like a celebration, because I stopped drinking at this time as well. So like usually like that was like my celebration, running 50K. And then I kept going. And it was like 150. I'm like, fuck, like maybe I'm the guy that just does this forever. Like honestly, bro, I felt like bulletproof. And a lot of the reason, so I started doing that because I wanted to do something difficult, and then just to see how I would hold up, and like just how I would handle that discomfort. Because at that time I was working shift work in a coal mine. I was trying to run a business, like that, my cleaning business, managing I had 15 staff at that time, working shift work, young family, fucking renovating the house. Like there was a lot going on. But like when I got up early in the morning, I could like start my day in full control, do something that was undesirable, and then tick that off. Like I'm back home before 6 o'clock in the morning, sit down with my family, have a warm breakfast, and then go and carry on with my day. So anyone that runs or does sort of anything like difficult early in the morning, it doesn't matter what time it is, but for like early for the morning for me, you gain that frequency. Like you're operating on this high frequency that you've just acquired from doing something that you know that not everyone else is doing. And then the cool thing about that, right, is that you get to operate on that frequency throughout the rest of the day. So you get to interact with your wife, you get to be a father for your children, you get to make decisions in your business, you get to like jump on sales calls and sell and like build your network off that frequency. But like the thing is that the moment that you acquire that, so in my case, 6 a.m. in the morning when I finish, like that starts to depreciate. So like over the course of the day, these challenges come and they take a bit of your energy and they take a little bit of your feeling, and then it's gone. And then you have to get that again the next day. But what happened was that feeling that was amazing and that was helping me operate was starting to like wear down, because like I was doing a lot of work early. I was burning a lot of calories, and I was like, my body was breaking down slowly. But I had this negative ego and a negative relationship now with that run that I had to keep doing it. And it was like, it wasn't even like I started doing it because it was healthy. And then I continued doing it because I knew other people were following along. I'm like, and it was like an ego thing towards the end of it. And then I got a stress fracture in my tibia on like day 194. But I'm like, fuck, I'm so close to 200. Let's just keep going to 200. And then, so my times blew out. I'm like hobbling, bro, like barely walking. But like, I was like, once I got to sort of 4 or 5, like I warmed up in like, and I could sort of like hobble through the rest of it. It was taking me ages. But I was like on day 200, I'd done 200 and then I hobbled for the last 2. And then I sat there after, I'm like, what am I doing this for? Like I started doing this for this reason.
7 days.
And I'm not getting that result that I wanted. There's ego here. So I had to zoom out and identify why I was still doing it. And it was for other people. It wasn't for me anymore. It was like, I was doing it because I knew other people were sort of following along and I didn't want that to be the case. So I broke it, but like not fully. So I broke it on day 203. I started rowing half marathons because I could still sit on the rower without my leg hurting. Because that's ultimately what stopped it, was the pain from not being able to walk. And then I started rowing half marathons and I rowed 54 half marathons. So I was like, I done 2 of 50, and I was like, bro, what are you doing here? Like, you're fucking stuck again. Like I'm fucking stuck rowing. So then I'm like, bang, I just broke the half marathon. Like it's almost like imagine like doing a 100-meter sprint and then walking off at 99 meters. So it's like you didn't finish, but I'm in control. That's what I did on that. I was like, I'm going to break this. I'm going to be in full control. And I broke it. And there was like the element of freedom after that. I'm like, oh, cool. I don't have to do that thing. Like I felt like it trapped me a little bit. It's weird, man. But like it touches on what you're talking about before. These positive things can have a negative impact if they're not applied in the right way. So like 100%. I use that as a tool, but like it was starting to work against me.
When you told me that story, I was like thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, often the things that can make you like extremely great at whatever it is that you set your mind to. Because it doesn't matter what it is. If you decided tomorrow you wanted to be the best ballet, you have the mentality, you have the discipline, you have everything that you need to be the best at ballet or one of the best, you know. And it doesn't matter. Like, I think that's why you see a lot of like people that are super disciplined, you know, in particular professional athletes, that transition usually quite well into other areas of their life if they can maintain the same discipline and see the similarities between, oh, okay, in order to be, you know, this good as an athlete, I needed to do these processes. I need to implement this nutrition plan. I need to train this, you know, I need to focus on these areas of my training to get better at them. And then in business, it's like, oh, they kind of map, you know, the nutrition is actually this in business, you know, the training is this, and they just map it like an API or something, you know? And you see them transition really well. But it's actually the same thing that makes you, it's like just pathways in your brain that like whatever can make you really good at something can also be used as a weapon. Yeah. And for me, it's not so much the physical pursuits. And maybe that's because, you know, deep down I'm just a lazy fuck. But I do train and I do like to acquire the frequency. But for me, it's like the difference between, say, an hour and a half training and 3 hours. Once I've acquired the frequency,
you're done.
That's it. I don't need to go any further.
100%. Yeah.
And maybe that's like part of, you know, growing up. I abused my body, man. I never did any recovery stuff. I was training. I played rugby league. Yeah. I had some injuries, knees, and you know, quad, and like I tore my quad, and I never rested. I played every game. I never missed a game, and it wasn't just weekend footy and then training during the week. It was school footy. And then if it wasn't school footy, we were playing at lunch and recess. And so pretty much my only day off ever was Sunday. Yeah. And we would often go to the park and play with my cousins or whatever. And I never once iced anything. I never once went to a doctor and got a scan. You know, it doesn't matter if it was shoulder, whatever. And so like you pay for that later in life. I'm 100% do not recommend, because I'm 32 now and I feel like I'm falling apart. Yeah. You know? But you know, for me, it's not the physical pursuits. It's actually the intellectual pursuits. And sometimes I can obsess over things and it just takes me down this path. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm like trying to figure out a problem or a formula or something. And I just will not stop. And I can't like even have a conversation with anybody. And then I realize it's happening again. And I'm like, okay, what's actually going to happen if I don't solve this problem? Nothing. I just close the laptop, and that's the freedom that you're talking about. Correct. But I feel the same, because sometimes I'll just stay up all night, like and
trying to fix it or trying to work through it. And the thing is, right, so there's an opportunity cost in that. So like you're staying up all night to try to solve this one problem. Yeah, and then you're gonna like you got
Create
like
6 more,
bro. Because like even like with the like if I didn't run for 2 hours every morning, like because ultimately there's an opportunity. Like there's an argument to say if I didn't do that, my business would be in a better position right now. Because I would, if like, what does that look like if you don't run for 2 hours and you work an extra an hour and a half? What does it look like if you run for an hour and then spend an extra hour with your wife? What is it like? Like there's an opportunity cost or some sort of element of trade off. So I think as business owners, as fathers, as husbands, we need to try to like still meet and reach our goals, but like try to do it in a way that doesn't take too much from the other things, because no one cares. And like it's actually funny, man. When I stopped doing jiu-jitsu, it was like a really hard decision for me because I love jiu-jitsu. And I was still working in a coal mine at that stage, and I had my cleaning business, and I was I would train every night, and I knew that me training was taking away from my family and my business at that stage. So my goal was to grow that cleaning business and have it in a position so I could walk away from coal mining. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu was holding me back from that. So there was an opportunity costing me training. It was like I wasn't going to get to my goal fast enough. And I remember ringing my professor. I'm like, bro, I don't know how to say this, dude, but like, I got to fucking stop. Like I need to like reach my goals, and I'm not going to do that fast enough whilst I'm still training here. And like, that was like, I was like one promotion away from getting a purple belt. Right. And I'm like, fuck, I want that thing. But like, I didn't want it more than I wanted freedom and flexibility of my life. So like, I think
coal mining's got to be, without a doubt, one of the hardest jobs you could do. I mean,
but like, it's not physically hard. It's just like,
the toll it takes on your health, your body.
Yeah, because you're working 12.5-hour shifts, you're working weekends and public holidays and nights and days, and like it chops and changes you around, right? The environment is very negative. It's a very toxic environment. Like it's not like a happy place to be. The actual task, so I used to drive big, massive excavators and bulldozers. Like it was a fun task, but like the environment was very negative and very exhausting. Like I knew I was going in when I was 22 when I first started in mining, and I left when I was 34. And like I was like slowly like depreciating as a person. Like I would get caught up in that negative attitude. I was like, hey, fuck the bosses. And it was like, that wasn't who I was. But like I was surrounded by that environment, so I just adopted like their thoughts and their processes, and then I knew that it was having a negative relationship with me. But I didn't until I left mining, bro. I didn't realize how much it grabbed me. I'm like, oh wow, like I had permission to be who I really was, and like I was like being this other person. I didn't even know it. And that was when I stopped drinking alcohol as well. Off the back of that, well, it was one of the reasons, because I'm like, oh wow, I'm actually not that person. Like I had a negative relationship with alcohol, but like I didn't like. A lot of that was to do with my environment and like me being unhappy with my current circumstances, because I knew that that's not the best utilization of my time. And like, fuck, like when you talk about rugby league as a kid, dude, if you asked me when I was 16, what I wanted to do, I was play rugby league. It was like, I couldn't even fathom having a normal job. I'm like, I'm going to play football. Like I'll play in the NRL. That's what I'm going to do.
You're in Cessnock probably arguably the Newcastle's prime.
Yeah, pocket. So like I was in the Newcastle development squads, and like I was in that.
That was in the Andrew Johns era, right?
You would have been. He was playing then. Yeah. So, but like, that's all I could imagine doing. And then same as you, injuries, and then I started partying. I'm like, oh wow, it's actually fucking not going to happen. And then I'm like, what am I going to do now? So, but there was a huge lesson in that for me too, right? Because like I had an element of natural talent in rugby league, but the same as business, you can have an element of natural talent in business, but like the thing that'll make you from good to great is like an amazing work ethic and the ability to be able to do what's required. I wasn't doing what was required to play at that next level. I was just doing what was naturally easy for me. So like I was like, oh, that was a huge lesson for me. I was like, if I had trained harder, if I had done the work that was required for me to compete with these other guys, I would have put myself in a better position to be able to be selected. So like I take that lesson. I remember getting a letter from the Knights when I tried for the Harold Matthews team, and they're like, hey, like the letter of like basically you haven't made the team. And I was like, fuck, that sucks. And then I remember like as an adult, especially in business, I'm like, oh wow, like I can apply that lesson here now and just fucking work harder. Yeah, like it doesn't matter if you have a better opportunity, you have more capital, you have a better office. It doesn't I'll work harder to get a better outcome.
Yeah, that's that's literally, you can apply that to nearly every aspect of life. And, you know, you're always going to have setbacks in everything you do, right? And look, for me, I never really thought I could make it. I was never the biggest, never the fastest, never the strongest. I never really won anything in like, I was always second or third, you know what I mean? Like there was some kids I stopped playing when I was in under 16s. I trialed for the Harold Matts squad, didn't get it. And that was like, I think I'm done here.
Yeah.
But I never thought that I could. I mean, there was 13-year-old, 15-year-old kids that were twice my size, quite literally. And I'm just like, how can you compete with this? Like, I just don't have the physical attributes to compete with these guys. And, you know, sometimes you can trade the size for speed or for, you know, but
Something.
And, you know, the reality is if you look at the coaches that we had, I mean, they were just somebody's dad. They had no idea. And half the time they were just like, all right, let's do this, do that. And then run, you know, 15 laps of the field and then go up to the leagues club and start slapping the pokies. They didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, there's some clubs that were funded better and that, you know, had people who knew about football and could train you and could develop you as a player. Yeah. We never had any of that. We literally were just playing park footy, you know, with your mates and stuff.
Well, funny story, dude. I used to play for Liverpool Catholic Club as a kid. And they were like obsessed with rugby league, right? And I remember we made an under-9s grand final and the parents there, bro, they would like, there's this, like they would fucking rip the bonnet off their car and they'd get like and they'd fucking paint the Liverpool logo on their car. Bro, they were wild, dude. Wild.
That's
but
crazy.
It was cool times.
You obviously went through a lot. You successfully exited the cleaning business, and then like how Virtual Spotter and tell me the cloud platforms as well.
Yeah, so Virtual Spotter come about. So my brother, I left mining. I left 12 years of mining and started a cleaning business. Scaled that, and like that was amazing for me, right? Zach he opened an F45 in Cessnock. And then he was still working in a coal mine as well at that stage. And that was, we kind of, like we would talk about business all the time. It's like, hey, we fucking should do this, but never pulled the trigger on it, right? Never had the balls to do it. And then I went that way, he went that way. It was very similar times. And then the back of the cleaning business was all ran by VAs while still working in the coal mines. The back of the F45 was ran by VAs while he was still in the coal mines. And like, fuck, like this. These guys are superstars, like absolute rock stars. They're running the back end of this business while we're busy doing other things. And then what we realized was, like, if you fast forward that, it's like you look at the F45s or any franchise fitness or any health and wellness business, like they mostly do all the same things. So like what we were doing, like we could help other people do. And I'm like, people would say how you do this or how you do that. And we're like, oh, we use this or we use VAs to do that. Like, fuck, what even is that? So then we like, hey, I think there's like something cool here. And in the very beginning, we would like try to service any business. It's like, oh, cool, you need someone to, like, you have a florist or you have a accounting, like you have a VA to do that. But then when we realized that was like just too spread out, we're like, hey, I think there's just a huge opportunity inside health and wellness. And then doubled down, started recruiting VAs, train them in all the processes, train them in all the software. So like
the name's great, by the way.
Yeah, cheers,
Virtual
dude.
Spotter. You couldn't get a better name than that. It's fucking.
And then so like if you have a health and wellness business, I know the things that you do day to day. I know that you're doing them or you're paying a manager to do them mostly, right? So it's like I can do all them things that you do for like 40% of the cost, and then you can scale your business or simplify your own life. And then that's how we sort of started to build it out. And then one of the challenges of having a virtual assistant in your business is like the lack of communication of like what they had to do each day, right? That's where it typically falls over. It's like a business or a health and wellness owner aren't the best business owners. They're the best coaches.
Trainers.
They love health and wellness. They don't love running businesses. They don't love running teams. They don't love holding people accountable. So we were like, hey, like we can't continue to leave, because we were like selling hours into these studios in the very early days. So it's like, hey, Julian, here's 15 hours. But it was like up to you to sort of do what you wanted to do with that labor. And like, fuck, I don't know what to do. Like, what can they do? It's like, well, they can do everything. So I was like, hey, we need to fix this. So we started like packaging it up. It's like, hey, we will do these 15 things every day for this agreed amount of money. So we're selling packages, like selling a solution as opposed to selling hours.
Yeah.
And that was far easier to sell, far easier. We take on more responsibility, but that's okay because I know how to manage and guide these tech guys. And you understand that you're paying, you know, XYZ right now, or you're doing it at 9 o'clock at night, and it's like, you can outsource that. And then that's when we started growing, scaling. We got some early attention from some big franchises. They wanted to understand what we're doing because we're helping a large portion of the network at that stage. And we were driving a lot of it off Google Sheets. And they're like, hey, this is cool, but fuck, you're on Google Sheets. I was like, yeah, sweet, we know. I basically got off that call and we engaged a software developer. I'm like, hey, if we're going to have a fucking crack, let's like do it properly. And just to go back 2 more steps, like we started making money. When I say me, Zach and I, we started making money that we never had before, right? And we'd look around and go, right, to make or create wealth, you need to invest. Yeah. So like, it was like, oh, this person's got this business and they're looking for investment. So I'd like give them money, and it was like, hey, there's money and there's money. I was like, I was investing in all these other ideas because they were shiny and new to me, right? I wasn't from that world, but I just thought that's what you need to do. You have money and you put it there and it grows. And then what I realized was that like, it's not always the best thing just to fucking hand over money to other people that you might like and know, but like, is that the best business? Is that the best? You're going to get return on that. And a lot of the businesses we didn't. I was like, fuck, that was a massive mistake. And like, I look at that like a lesson now, that there was like less zeros than hopefully, you know, we can avoid in the future. But it was like, hey, let's stop doing that and then just continue to double down on ourselves. Let's invest in this software, let's custom build it. Let's build something that we think that these fitness franchises need and want, and sell it back to them. And we started doing that like 2.5 years ago. So Virtual Spider-Man's probably like 4 years old now.
Yep. So you have another COVID business.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, some of the best businesses, hey, have born around that time.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how resilient the businesses that are born around that time are, because since then we've only had adversity.
Yeah.
And so I'm of the firm believer that, you know, because a lot of the best businesses were born around the GFC as well. If you look at like, if you Google that, and some of the businesses that were born around that time,
strong,
they're unicorns now, right?
Yeah.
Not saying that's what I want to be. I could never dream even that big, but it's just, you know, same thing. 4 years ago, you know, COVID happens. Everybody starts rethinking their existence. You know, like, what am I doing? Why am I building this for someone else, or whatever the scenario is? Like, you know, I'm unhappy in my current circumstances.
Yeah.
I want to make a real change. But because we've only had adversity, like COVID 1 and then COVID 2 came, you know, in 2021, and then since then we've had interest rate rises and cost of living crisis and inflation, and man, it's not been easy for any business owner, but especially those that basically started and have just like,
this is a normal environment. And then, so we've been developing Cloud Tasker, which is it's an operational software. It's like an operational CRM almost. And where we have we're building something that I think solves a big problem in the space. And a lot of the times too, like a health and wellness franchise do an amazing job from a front end point of view, right? They can sell territories, they can like attract members, but like the operations or franchisee support is like lacking dramatically, right? Because they put all the capital in trying to grow the business, which is like, they're in the business of selling territories. And then they sell territories and they're like, fuck, I need to support these franchisees. We didn't really sort of plan or anticipate this. So we have the structure and the systems to support the franchisees. And in a lot of cases as well, right, it's like, you have a small franchise, you might have 10, 15, 20 locations. It's like, do you spend $1 million on software to build like an operational thing, or do you just pay me $90 a month and use ours? Like, what way are you going to go? Yeah. Like, I built that for you. Like, this
you're not a tech. Here's the thing. A lot of businesses feel like they have to be a tech business.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, like with us, like, we're not a CRM company.
Yeah.
We know what we're good at.
Yeah.
We're not a CRM company.
Yeah.
And so if we can get a CRM that's already available in the market and maybe build some stuff on top of it to get it to do exactly what we need, that's a way better proposition for us as a business, because it's not like we have venture capital behind us or anything. It's just like me. You know? So if there's something available on the market like what you're offering at such a low cost, trust me, you're not increasing your enterprise value, putting yourself millions of dollars in debt to try and build something that there's a good chance, if you are not a tech expert, you're going to fall flat on your face.
Yeah, so. Dude. And like there's been like attacks that I've had to pay from not being a tech expert, right? Like and we're still managing that. Like there's still challenges in there that I want it to work like this. They tell me, or like there's bugs or there's this and this, that. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on? And they're like, oh, this is normal. I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't know if it is or not. Like I have to take their word for it, right? Because like I'm not a software engineer. But like there's massive lessons that we're going through with that from a time, from a capital. Like it's very capital intensive. Like every dollar that we're earning right now is basically going back in the business with no like end date of like that stopping and like this big customer base going to be there. It's just like a constant grind. Like I have a very clear vision of where it lands and like who grabs it and who picks it up. But like we have to work towards that, right? So that's Cloud Tasker, and then FitForms it solves a different problem, same demo, probably a broader demographic to be honest, and like we've got a pilot at the moment with the biggest fitness franchise in the world. The results of that will come out soon, and
that's amazing. Yeah.
If that goes as we expect, like that'll roll into their tech service fee, which is it's for the franchisee. It's like they pay it. It's like a bundle payment, and they get everything in underneath that. So they they actually don't pay for it. I send one bill to the franchisor. They pay it monthly as per active account holders, and then they use it. So like that would be amazing for us. And
that's amazing, bro. I'm so proud of you.
Bro,
that's fucking amazing. That is so good to hear.
And I think that like I anticipate that we get that. And whatever happens, like I will win. It just might take me longer.
Yeah.
Right. So like we get this deal, and I can leverage that deal for other brands. And we can create some PR and stuff like that, or even just confidence, dude. Like it's like this works as we anticipated. Let's fucking double down. And like, if you have 500 users with this brand, and you talk to someone that has a network of 20, you're like, these guys already done the DD. Like you want to do a pilot too, or you just want to say like these guys use it and they're happy with it, right? So like, and that's
pretty common. It's pretty common for people to leverage, especially if they need speed to market.
Yeah,
they're like, someone else did the DD. All right, we're good. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think too, like they feel like they get left behind if they don't do that too. Yeah, they're like, fuck, like these guys do it. They're bigger than us. Like we got to do that too.
I want to ask you specifically on each business, like, who is your ideal client? Like, let's say there's somebody listening and they have a BJJ franchise, or they have a just a Snap Fitness, or like who is.
So the ideal avatar would be a franchise fitness owner, an individual franchise fitness owner, a franchisor, or like anyone that is in a space anyone that uses MindBody specifically. I fucking smoke. We got like hundreds and hundreds of years of like experience on that software platform. But the ideal avatar is a single studio owner, group fitness specifically, or like BJJ or some sort of group fitness, and something that we can scale through the network. So I can understand what Gracie Baja does here, and then just replicate that throughout the
Gracie
network.
Hamada, Gracie. Yeah.
It's all the same. They all do the same back end, right? They all have the same problems. They all have the same challenges. So from an individual customer, we probably add the most value to a multi-studio owner. So someone that might have 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, because they get to systemize their entire back end across all their network, which is very hard to do onshore, even just from an expense point of view. But yeah, if you look through our client base right now, it's franchise fitness, franchise health and wellness. Like that is where we can add the most value. And then like there's still a huge amount of opportunity for like a mum and pop BJJ or a mum and pop health and wellness, boutique fitness, CrossFit gym, whatever, Pilates, yoga. But like their franchise, they have some infrastructure. And we can scale that. So like that's the best one for us.
That's amazing. And, if you sort of fast forward, I know there's a few businesses in there, but if you fast forward, like what do you see as like the end goal? Like, you're building these businesses, slightly different avatars, but, they're in the same vertical essentially. Yeah. And it's an area very well.
Yeah.
You sort of thinking that you just continue to find the big problems and just solve them, and then
big companies
find a suitable acquirer that can supercharge or turbocharge a business or add strategic value. Or
I think I have an overarching goal that I want to create 5,000 opportunities for Filipinos. Like I want to create 5,000 meaningful job opportunities, like for amazing Filipino workers, right? Like that's the core of our business. And when I can do that, like I will be out off the back of that, we'll be able to help 10,000 small health and wellness businesses as well. So like that's my overarching goal. What happens in between there, I'm not totally sure. Whether I don't know. I'm just trying to build it and get users on the platforms, learn and grow. We're going to the States next week to do a 2-day workshop with Alex Hormozy and Layla Hormozy at acquisition.com, which will be pretty mad. So like, they don't typically invest in companies outside of the US. So like, I wouldn't anticipate that like anything like through there would happen. However, like I'm sure that like I'm open to something happening in the future with anyone if it made sense. But right now we'll just double down and continue pouring our own cash into it. And it's,
He's probably never going to even see this podcast, but if Alex Hormozy follows you, it wouldn't matter. The border thing, we don't invest outside of the US, that wouldn't fucking matter, mate. If I had the money, I would invest in you 100%, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate that, dude. And I think that one of the cool things about our business anyway, right, is like we're all virtual. So it's like, sweet. I set up an LLC in the US and now we're a US-based company. So like, it's all good. Like there's obviously ways that you can figure it out. There's a lot of like,
what are the companies called? They're like employer of record or whatever as well. Like I don't know how that really ties in to your line of work, but some of those companies reach out all the time. They're like, if you want to employ people in this country or that country or here, or if you're incorporated over here, there's different laws than if you're incorporated over here. So there's like already companies that can help solve some of those problems and help you get, if you needed to start up an LLC in Texas, because there's no state taxes there, or another sort of another state there, Delaware or whatever, that's I guess has not a tax haven, because it sounds like the Cayman Islands kind of shit, but like somewhere that's tax effective. It's probably the best way to say that.
One thing as well that I want to touch on, dude, is like if I was to start all over again, I wouldn't be so spread with what I'm doing now, right? Like the cleaning business I had was an amazing cash flow business, but I sold that because I knew that there was an opportunity cost that was affecting Virtual Spotter, or like I knew that the opportunity, the ceiling was way bigger than Virtual Spotter. So I'm like, hey, let's cut this off and let's go deep on this and build it. And then we did that, right? There's like a freed up energy, and then Virtual Spotter just went berserk. But like, I understand that, especially as I mature in business, like there's an opportunity cost. Like whilst they are all serving the same avatar, like the same industry, like they're marketed differently. The back end's a little bit different. The language is a little bit different. So like there's an opportunity cost in me my energy being spread
so thin,
correct. Because I'm like, if it was just one of them things, like, it would be unrealistic to think that it couldn't be bigger than what it is right now.
Yeah.
So like, and even just referring to Alex Hormozy, right? Like if you look at his 2 exits early, the Gym Launch and Prestige Labs. So he sold Prestige Labs for I think it was $46 million for Gym Launch and like $38 million for Prestige Labs or something like that. But like, so from the outside looking in, you'd think that was an amazing exit, right? But he's like, if I didn't start Prestige Labs, I would have sold Gym Launch for $150 million. So like, great, he got 36 million, but like there was an opportunity cost of like maybe another 30 million because Gym Launch wasn't as big as what that could have been with
100% of his bandwidth.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, the new name for the podcast is Lost and Founders.
It's a mad name, by the way.
Thank you.
Bro, it's mad.
So I came up with that name after doing some brainstorming. There was a few others. I liked the play on words, but I did some research, and there was already a podcast in the US, but they hadn't made an episode in like 5 years or something. So I'm like, fuck, too bad, bro. It's mine now. You know? But I did check, and I was disappointed when it was there. And then so I started looking at other names, and I just couldn't go past this one. But a lot of young founders in general, I don't know what it is. It's like they get caught up in the shiny object, or the appeal of the shiny object, and they can't wait to tell people how many businesses they own and run and all this kind of stuff. But like your point about spreading yourself thin is so true. Like you're in the same kind of vertical, and and it's still difficult for you to do that. And man, your work ethic, nobody can question that. Your discipline, nobody could question that. So if anybody can pull it off, it is someone like you, or you very specifically, and your brother, of course. But my point around this is like, it's so easy to get distracted by other things. But what you don't actually realize you're doing is, if you think about it, if you've ever pressed Control-Alt-Delete on a Windows computer, and then you get the processors and the CPU usage, every time you open a new program, which it could be another company or it could be any sort of shiny object, what you're actually doing is you're loading up the CPU or the processor, which in this case would be your brain. And so it means that it's diverting resources away from the others. And I'm explaining this in the computer terms because like other people know this. When you open heaps of tabs on your computer, what happens? Your computer runs like shit.
Yeah.
And it's the same concept here. Only humans are actually much worse at multitasking than computers are. Computers are way better at multitasking. And so, you know, if you have that singular focus, if you're locked in on a target, if you're trying to shoot 2 bow and arrows at 2 different targets, how hard would that fucking be? It's hard enough to hit the bullseye with 1 bow and arrow.
Yeah. It's like that analogy, right? Like chase 2 rabbits, catch none.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like it's, and I don't think that as founders, we identify the opportunity cost that exists in doing all these other things. Because I think that one of the most amazing things that we could all do is spend time in solitude with ourselves. And like a part of my morning routine is that, like, I love this. I love the solitude. I love sitting with myself. I love sitting with my thoughts and my feelings and like expressing what I'm feeling right there and then. Because like you come up with ideas or you solve problems during that window of time that allows you to continue to grow or apply in your business. And I think that there are so many distractions in life. And like if you wake up and then you're fucking running, like you're a little bit late and you're running to get your lunch ready and you give the wife a quick kiss and the kids a pat on the head and you fucking scoot, and then you realize you fucking left your AirPods at home. You're like, fuck, bro. It's where you think you're gonna fucking win. Like
you're taking L's all day. If your day starts like that, you're taking L's all day.
Like I think like that is a normal existence for a lot of people, and like they almost like they pride themselves on that. It's like, I'm fucking always hustling. I was like, bro, so like stop. Like you're not helping at all. Like just go sit with yourself for 2 hours and like just think. Like that is a high yielding. Like I don't think we can recognize how important it is to spend an element of solitude by yourself every day just to process thoughts and feelings.
It's actually how I start my day. So I actually start my day. I don't leave the house without showering. I have to have a shower, and it's at least 30 minutes. Yeah. And in the shower.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long shower,
It's a long shower, yeah. And I just literally...
That needs to be a survey. We need to survey that.
Yeah. My wife will confirm that because she's like, fuck, I need to use...
But I want to see what the average is, because I reckon an average would be like 7 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
But like, it's cool.
I usually make sure at the BJJ gym, brother in Artarmon, used to be Gracie. But yeah, I usually shower last because I finish the hot water for everybody. So I'm like, you guys go first and then I'll shower. Also, I'm self-employed. Everyone's like racing to so they don't get in trouble. But that's my thinking time, man.
Yeah, I like
that's my. It's like it's such a therapeutic process for me. All right, this is what happened, and usually I'm exhausted because I just trained.
Choke for fucking an hour.
So I think that's possibly one of the best things that I do. And when you say, oh, you should meditate, blah blah blah, a lot of people go, oh yeah, it's woo woo, like But it's just, I don't care if you don't sit there with your legs in a lotus position or whatever. I don't do that.
Yeah.
But it is meditative to sit, like, or stand in the shower. Sometimes I have my arm, up and the water's just running. And all I'm doing is just processing what has happened, what happened yesterday, what's going to happen today, who I'm meant to be meeting with, what are the things that I need to do. And I just go through that process. And by the time the 30 minutes is done, or let's say it's 25 minutes and then it's actually 5 minutes cleaning myself. By the time that whole process is done, I feel on top of my day. Like I actually own this shit now. It's not,
you're in control.
I'm in control. But it's something that I think a lot of people, if that thing you just described, I was like, that seems like such a miserable existence. You're like rushing out the door and you left something and you forgot this and you forgot that. And, your missus asked you to take the rubbish out and you didn't.
Yeah.
And
like even like, and again, this can be, there's negative parts in that. So like I won't walk past rubbish.
Yeah.
Because it'll fuck with me. I'm like, oh, you saw that and you decided that it wasn't important enough. Yeah. Therefore your values are like, you're okay with fucking shit laying around.
Yeah.
Like that plays, but also too, it's like, if there's rubbish everywhere, like, is it the best utilization of your time to pick up rubbish for 7 hours? Like, you know what I mean? So like, at what stage do you stop? Yeah. So like even for me, like the bed, like makes my house, when we go to sleep at night, my house is completely in order. Like, I got 4 young kids. It's like, I fucking can't hit, like, the clothes is folded, everything's spotless. Everything's done. The plates are laid out ready for breakfast in the morning. My gear's in the bathroom ready to go, blah, blah, blah. My kids wake up in the morning, they're fucking, like, there's like a competition for them guys, man. Like, they will make their beds and come and get me. Hey, Dad, come and look at my bed, Like, they want to have the best bed. And like, there's elements of that'll compound into their futures. Like, hey, this is the standard that we accept in our house. Like, this is how we operate. And then you get to operate externally from that as well. People identify that. They might see me pick up that one piece of rubbish and they're like, oh, okay, that he notices that. Like, I want to do that too. And then you just create, bro, no one does it better than Andy Frisella.
Oh, yeah.
So I haven't really gone down, like, because we went there. Did I tell you that?
No.
Did you know that? Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. I do remember you posting about it. Yeah.
So I went to the US a few months ago, and we detoured to go to St. Louis and spend time in St. Louis. And as a wild sort of turn of events, but I reached out to them cold inbound via their contact us, and then got a reply straight away from a dude that worked there. He's like, bro, yeah, we would love to have you, and I can show you around, blah, 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 blah. That was his last day on customer service. I ended up, that was like 8 months before we were going, but we ended up following each other on Instagram, just going back and forth, and like now he's like a friend. And we end up staying at his house, which I wouldn't normally do. Like, I like my own space, and like, I don't know him, he doesn't know me, but like, I just felt like it was going to be a high yielding experience for both of us. So I stayed at his house. We spent time I ran a 50K around that building. So like, that building was, bro, huge. A 1 kilometer. He's got 3 buildings over there. One of them was 1 kilometer like around. So I'm like, fuck it. Like, that guy, 75 hard, like the culture, his values have like had a massive impact on me as a person. And I wanted to do something that was undesirable and just sit with that thought. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to run 50K around his building and just sit with the thought of like what this company has done to me from a mindset point of view. And I created this reel before I went. I was like, I can imagine myself running laps around this building. I'm sure that Andy's going to drive like one of his Ferraris that day, and I'm going to drive, because I see it on his Instagram. I know where he parks. I know like all the bearings. So I'm like, he's going to drive a Ferrari. He's going to do this and he's going to do that. And then sure enough, bro, like fucking bang, the Ferrari's there. The block is exactly how I anticipated. The level of detail that guy has in that building is fucking out of control, bro. Like, it's out of control. Like, we walked into a board. So first of all, there's like 400 people that work in there. To give you an idea, like as an Australian, to put it into perspective, like 2 Bunnings buildings is one of his, and he had 3 of them there. Like, it's huge, bro. His commercial gym, it's private for people that work there only, is like blow your mind. Like, it's incredible, dude. And people will move from all around the US to go and work there in that environment, and they all start by handwriting thank you cards. So like, if you order something from First Form right now, you'll get a handwritten thank you card from them. Like, even today, like at the scale that they are right now. And there's no end line of where these guys are going to get out of that job. Like, they might not, but like, that's a part of the process. Is like, hey, I want fucking killers here. You go write thank you cards for 8 months, and I might promote you into this next role. And that's where most of them all start, dude. But the culture there is incredible. So I walked into their boardroom, and even these wheels, right? Like, they got like the spinny wheels. You walk into the boardroom, there's probably like 15 of the office chairs. Every one of the wheels is all fucking lined up parallel with each other. Like, there's no cleaners. They don't have a cleaning crew. Everyone just looks after their own space, and it's fucking spotless always. Like, it's wild, bro.
Yeah, that's the best.
I had when I was doing my laps, I had like Gatorade or like food from the survey, like to keep me fueled. And I had it hidden behind his entry First Form. I had it hidden behind the sign, and it was there for like an hour and a half. And then when people started coming in, the guy that looks after the grounds grabbed it and fucking went to take it. Like, he thought it was rubbish.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like nothing went unnoticed, but like just a huge level of details. Like, hey, this is the standard that we accept, and this is how we operate.
I love that so much, man. Yeah. You listen to him talk, you can kind of see how he is able to, he's a great leader, and you can kind of see how that would trickle down, right? Like the standards. There's a saying that says standard you walk past is a standard you accept.
Yeah.
And I learned that very early in my career. And, to go to that level of detail though, like that takes a certain, and it needs the right people to buy into that too.
Yeah.
You can't just have random people that don't appreciate that or understand
That
why
won't
that's
last.
important. Yeah.
But it's even like if you're going to do 10 push-ups, right? And you say, I'm going to do 10 push-ups, and you know that your chest doesn't quite hit the ground on that ninth one, but you're like, fuck it, it was pretty close. Like no one knows that, but you do. That's all that matters. Like, do you do the other rep and do you do it properly and know that you tick that box?
Yeah.
Or you go, fuck it, like I'll do
Close
it properly
enough.
the next time.
Yeah.
And like for sure, there's been a lot of moments in my life that I've been, fuck it, it's close enough. But like that's not when I was operating. I wasn't the best version of myself at that time. And when you do that extra rep, or you do what you know is required or needed, or you told yourself, then like that's when you'll get, like the universe will identify that and go, okay, cool, this guy's ready for opportunities now. Like that's the way that I look at it. It's like if you can say that you want this thing and you want to grow your business to this and you want to try to attract these employees, but then you still do drugs on the weekend and you might fucking cheat on your wife at a buck show, or you go like you do these other negative things. It's like, bro, you can't, like you're not ready for these opportunities.
Yeah, you're self-sabotaging, really.
Like you're not gonna.
That doesn't hurt. That hurts yourself more. Obviously, you're hurting if you're cheating on your wife.
But like
you're hurting your family. But
like there's people that accept that, right? Like there's people that are like they justify it in some random way, and like that's probably a little bit extreme. But there's other examples that are less than that people justify, and then they're like, hey, why doesn't anything happen to me? It's like, bro, you're not ready for any of this. Yeah, like you have to put yourself in a position. You have to put yourself in a position for the universe to go, okay, cool, this guy's ready for more. And it might even be a problem or like some sort of challenge. You're like, fuck, how am I going to do this? And I think that the universe is like, hey, there's all the fucking dramas. I want to see how this guy operates. And if he can solve them, because bro, I'm sure you're the same, but every challenge or every moment of discomfort or adversity, off the back of that is always growth, right?
Yeah.
You've never gone through
agree.
a moment of adversity and then gone down. Like there's always growth off the back of that, whether that's personally, whether it's business, whether it's your relationship. So like the way I look at it is like, hey, yeah, go through this adversity and then you get the fucking cherry on the other side.
And that you're building these tools, or like it's ammunition for the next time you have a war. And it doesn't matter what that war is. It could, be something, not actually war, right?
Yeah.
It's just, the point is you're better equipped to handle adversity the next time. And I truly believe you're given really what you can handle. You see, like, there's around where I live, there was a family that lost 4 kids in one day from a drunk driver, right? And you just listen to them. And it's like, they've forgiven the guy, and they're very religious family, and they lost 4 kids, man.
Right.
And it doesn't. I'm not saying that that's the adversity you want anybody to go through, but I feel like they're so deeply and spiritually connected to their religion that they were able to deal with that and cope with that. And I'm sure they deal with the pain every single day, right? But if you had somebody that was quite mentally weak, or that would have finished them. Like I have no doubt in my mind, most people would not be able to live beyond that situation. So I do believe that the more you can handle, and the more calloused your mind is, the more stoic you are. We got Stoics collection there, but the more stoic you can be, the more adversity will come. But at that point in time, you reach a level where you almost welcome it, and it's not like a sort of a sociopathic way. It's not that. It's just like, I understand the lessons that I get from this are going to serve me well in the future. It's giving me more tools, more. I'm better equipped to handle that. It's like you pointed out. You're like, almost immediately after. It's like the night is darkest before dawn, right? That's exactly what that is. And I feel like when you have somebody who's like, oh, why does this always happen to me? The mindset, that victim mindset is, it's so dangerous. I feel the people who you have had many horrific things happen, and your life hasn't exactly been easy, but at the end of the day, you have your health, you have your family, you have so many things to be grateful for. And there's some part of the brain. I was listening to a psychologist talk once. They're like, the same part of your brain that processes gratitude removes anxiety.
Right.
And it's crazy to me because everybody can experience anxiety at different times. And but when you actually are thinking about or counting 10 things that you're grateful for, it's amazing how quickly your anxiety just disappears.
Yeah.
And I never thought about that. And I didn't even know that there was like an actual reason why that happens and why people say you should practice gratitude. Because a lot of people just like put it in the same thing. It's like this hippie thing, you practice gratitude and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, there's actually a pathway in the brain that means that if you are counting the things that you're grateful for, and it doesn't matter if you're religious or not, if you're just saying thank you, I'm so thankful that I have, a beautiful, amazing mother, wife that's a great mother to my 2 children. I'm so grateful my family's close. I'm so grateful I got 2 healthy children. I'm so grateful for so many things in my life. The rest of it, if Loan Options fell over tomorrow, if my car got a flat tire when I drove out of here, none of that is even. It wouldn't even register on it's just.
There's a part. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I shared it on my stories the other day. Right, it's that YouTube video of that girl laying on the grass in San Francisco, and it zooms out from her into the universe. Have you seen that YouTube video?
No, I haven't seen it.
We'll share it in the B-roll in here, but I'll send it to you after, because every now and then, I'll just go, or even just on my maps, I'll just fucking zoom out on my map and go, oh fuck, you don't really matter.
You're
fucking
a speck
tiny.
of sand. Yeah.
But this YouTube video does an amazing job. Just YouTube point of view universe girl on lawn or whatever, right? And then. Yeah, so this camera, she's laying on the grass, and the camera goes out 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 10 kilometers, 100 kilometers into the universe, and then it goes into the next galaxy, and then it goes into the next.
I think I've seen this.
Bro, this place is huge. This is huge. So every now and then I'll watch that. Right, I put an outdoor shower in my backyard, so I can I'll go rain, and then I have a shower outside, I bathe underneath the fucking stars and the moon. For whatever reason, for me, it's just I feel like I'm connected to the universe when I do that. It feels fucking mad. And then when I'm out there, I'm looking at the stars on a clear night. I'm like, why don't we fucking care more about, there's a moon there. We can see the moon. That's pretty mad. But we're all just looking through it. Even the sun. It's people are fuck that sun off. Where's my glasses? I'm like, bro, that's the sun. When you understand how far away that is and we can feel the warmth from it, it's fucking wild, bro.
Yeah.
It's
and if it was any further away, we'd freeze to death, and any closer, we'd burn to death.
Yeah,
it's just in exactly the right place.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. And I forget what I was. When I watch that, it makes me realize that there are lots of things that are important in our life, but nothing really matters. Nothing really has a deep meaning. It's just there's all these cool, important things. What is important to me is not important to you. What means something to me is not the same for you. So I think we can get caught up in all these things that don't really matter so much. In our, we're here for 100 years. If we're lucky, that's not a very long time.
Yeah, not in this time scale of how long the universe has been here or how long Earth's been here. But man, it's been a pleasure knowing you, learning about your story. Man, I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to meet. I'm still very, very grateful, and I hope one day that not that you were expecting it, or not that I feel that I owe you one, but I absolutely would love at some point to repay you and return the favor and continue on this. You call it a frequency. I tend to agree. I think there's a lot of other people that start to gravitate towards each other, and then you start to open up a little bit, and you're like, oh, there's a lot of similarities there. There's a lot of things I can see why they have a very similar point of view on life, or the way they treat people, or so man, I'm always very impressed with how you treat people. You're above all a great dad, great human, great business owner. Very, very privileged to know you. And there's one tradition we have on this podcast, and that is I'd like you to finish with a 60-second pitch on why someone should use Virtual Spotter. We already spoke about the avatar and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I want you to try and condense it into, let's call it elevator pitch, and we'll finish up on that note.
Okay, so why should you use Virtual Spotter? If you value your time, if you value simplicity, if you value business growth, then I think Virtual Spotter are the tools that we've the tools that we've created, the tools that we've developed over time and proven in the market, we create simplicity, we create structure, and we give you back your time. So I think that anyone that values any of them three things, like, you would get a huge amount of support and value out of Virtual Spotter or our services.
Amazing. Guys, trust me when I tell you, go and follow Courtney on all the social channels, but go and check out the Instagram. You won't be disappointed. It might make you look hard at yourself and how you wake up in the morning and snooze your alarm 15 times, and this guy's been rowing half marathons, but it's the most inspirational thing, and it's all coming from the best place. Mate, like I said, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it,
bro. I appreciate you very much.
Cheers.